Hi, welcome to the Anxious Developer podcast with me, Predovich. Here I share my knowledge on how to reduce your stress, become more present and productive as a developer. Let's make writing code fun again. You are listening to the second part of this episode. In case you missed the first part, make sure to go back and listen to it. Now, enjoy.
A good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. So like action, and whether you're in the military or you're in business, taking action now is far better than, waiting a day, waiting 3 days, waiting 5 days to have this perfect plan. Just do it. Just get out there, do it, and make mistakes. It doesn't matter. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, I read something along those lines, I think yesterday on Twitter. So the idea was that we are a lot of times waiting for the motivation to get us started to do what we want, right? And sometimes it works great. We get into a flow state, we get motivated, the day is perfect. Another day we feel like the worst and we just don't have any motivation. So the misconception is that motivation creates action, which creates momentum. The real idea and how I think we are supposed to do it, and it's a better way approach, is to do action, which creates momentum, which creates motivation. So it's the other way around. You're doing action even if you don't feel motivated. And again, like you mentioned, it doesn't have to do the big thing. It doesn't have to do to actually build the app, or you have to do the next pitch, the presentation. It doesn't have to be that exactly. It can just be like going and washing the dishes that are left over, because that creates some momentum. Even that creates some momentum. Taking a shower, making your bed, cleaning up your desk if it's dirty, it creates some momentum where you start, you feel a little bit productive, and it doesn't matter if it's related to work or not, but that creates momentum, which again, more action, more momentum, and then that creates the motivation and you feeling nice, right?
Yeah, it's also, it's creating that momentum, because even if it's, getting out of bed in the morning, where typically I'd wake up for a while there and I'd have anxiety right away. So just waking up and making the bed. So right away, I'm starting my day with some action, and then also starting my day with success. Hey, good job. You made your bed. Or, you're in an anxious moment. Maybe you're not in a good mind to work on that pitch deck presentation, or, start working on the code of the app. But going in, washing the dishes, or going to do, some chore that's completely separate from that, you're accomplishing something. So I think that one, you're proving to your brain, proving to your body, I can move, I can take action, and I can accomplish things. And you can give yourself a pat on the back for that. Good job. And then now I feel confident. I've got that momentum going. So now I'm going to step into this code and see where the bug's at, or whatever it is. So, being aware of those moments. Just another example too. I go to the gym pretty much every day, whether I'm running or I'm going to lift weights or something like that. I just do that for my fitness, for my health, for I've lower back problems and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of injuries over the years, and so keeping healthy helps that. There is I would say the vast majority of days I really don't want to go to the gym. I'm trying to think of every excuse I can not to go. I don't really like going to the gym. I would much rather be I would much rather be working on something, building something. That is so much fun to me. I don't want to go to the gym and talk to people and spend 3 hours there. I just want to get in and get out. But when I'm in those moments now, again, this has changed over the years. When I'm in those moments now, we're oh, I want to go to the gym. You're waiting to be inspired to finally go to the gym. I realize it's never going to happen. I can wait, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 10 hours. I still don't want to go. And so no matter me waiting is not going to solve anything. Just go and do it. And sometimes I have to play these mental games with myself too. And this is, I think, something you can do, whether it's the pitch presentation you need to start working on, or the code you need to start working on. What I tell myself, just for the gym as an example, is I don't want to go. So all I'm going to do is just drive there. I'm going to commit to that action of just driving to the gym. I'm going to walk inside. If I get there and do that and I want to walk out, that's cool. I haven't done that. I haven't done that yet, but like just get there and then see what happens after there. Don't put any pressure on it. We're just like, again, it's like breaking down this thing of like, oh my God, I need to go to the gym and work out for like 45 minutes or 30 minutes in my case, 45 minutes, whatever. I don't want to do that. I don't want to run on the treadmill. Breaking that down and just show up to the gym and then see where it goes. Okay, maybe just do like 2 minutes on the treadmill. Okay, now I'm feeling pretty good. Like maybe I'll just do like 2 more. So you kind of have to play these mental games with yourself sometimes. So like as an example, like you know, if there's a bug in the code. Okay, I kind of know where that bug would be. I have an idea. So I'm just going to go and like look at it. I'm just going to like look at it and just see what's there. And then I'll come up with a plan later. And you're going to find you start looking at it, you start going through there and like, oh, like maybe like I could just do this little thing. I'll just test it real quick. I'll just test it real quick and then I can walk away. And then you do that and then like maybe it doesn't work. And so you're like, oh, darn it. But okay, now I know something else. I learned something else and now I'll test this thing on there. So you can kind of trick yourself into doing these behaviors that they're these big things, like say there's a big bug in the code and that needs to get fixed. And it's this big thing in your mind, but again, you're like playing this game with yourself and just breaking it down step by step. Just look at the phone. Just do this. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more, rather than making it a big behemoth.
I heard what David Goggins said, like, how he usually saying with his voice, like, you think I'm always motivated and like I always like this, but it's like in the morning I stare at my shoes like for 2 hours and I don't want to go for a run, but then I go. So the idea was that like even a person like David Goggins, who looks like such a motivated person and he always has motivation and stuff, it's about discipline, doing the things that makes you uncomfortable. And if David Goggins stares at those shoes for 2 hours, it can tell you that not everyone has motivation. You can see a lot of success is portrayed as, I don't think most of startup founders and entrepreneurs, they put their struggles. They don't put they don't have motivation, or there's like a lot of years when they really didn't do much or were not productive. So what you see is just the end result is like, people are like always going to work, always building, always doing this, doing that. But in reality is might not be always the true, and people who actually do it doesn't mean that they are motivated all the time. It's just they turn it to a habit. They build tools around it to know how to start their day, how to get things done when they want and when they need to. So don't wait for that motivation. Don't wait for that perfect moment. And I'm telling myself this too, because I'm still struggling, and I think everyone will. I don't think there will be a time when I'm like, great, I don't have to struggle with discipline and stuff like that. So something to remind myself, and I think, it's just showing up and always remembering that action creates motivation and not the other way around.
Yeah, I think so. This is something I really believe is. And this is, probably an example of this is David Goggins. He's being vulnerable and telling you like what's really going on in his mind, that he doesn't want to do this. He thinks the same way a lot of people do. I really believe that people that are naturally not good at something, if they dedicate to themselves, they can become the best at it. So like I don't know any other examples of someone that's more motivated, more disciplined, more like he's like amazing in terms like David Goggins in terms of like what he can get his body to do, what he can get his mind to do. I don't think there's anyone better out there in terms of mental.
I think it's more about the mind. I think it's even more about the mind, like what he can get his mind to do.
And I think the reason why he is that way is because he wasn't that way. He wasn't good at motivation. If you look at his story, he was, several 100 pounds overweight and blah, 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 and lazy and just kind of like going through life and just surviving, didn't care, all that. It's those people that are, naturally not geared for something, that if they really want it and they and they, put these, practices in place and put these tools in place, end up becoming the best at it. So it's kind of it's a reframe. So rather than sitting there and like being mad at yourself and like, oh my God, I'm so lazy, or oh, I'm so this, and oh, I'm so unmotivated and stuff like that. It's like, I have the opportunity in front of me by just this moment right now, by taking action today, by taking action tomorrow, by all these little moments that I overcome. I have the ability to become the best at this, whatever that may be. Like whatever that thing that you're not wanting to do or something like that, is I actually will be the best at this because I'm not so good at it. And I think just in my own example, I wasn't a good student, especially when I was young. I got held back in third grade because I couldn't read. Are still things I struggle with from like reading level and stuff like that. Like I still struggle. I have a slight dyslexia, but because of those things that I was weak in, I focused on the things I'm really strong at, and I became, I believe a pretty well educated person. I mean, I made it through the Air Force Academy. I've been able to teach myself everything from industrial engineering to like deep lessons in psychology and stuff like that. I'm like very a curious person. So what I've learned to do is just like engross myself in whatever I want to learn. I engross myself into it, and because I have some weaknesses, it actually made me stronger in other areas, because I use what I do have to become better at that. Same thing with David Goggins. Like maybe he's naturally more lazy person or something like that, but he developed these practices, these disciplines, these things he would tell himself in those moments that made him the best probably person as far as motivation and resilience and all that.
I I have one also like piece of advice. What maybe not necessarily piece of advice, but one realization I had was that when I was in high school, I was very bad at math, and I was very bad at many subjects. So like my primary language, like like so many subjects that I was bad at: chemistry, biology, mathematics, and so on. And I was quite bad at it. And I thought it's because I'm just not smart enough. Like, there's because the way system was, and it still is in Moldova and other countries across the world, is the people who do well in school, they have high grades. The teacher changes their behavior towards those students because they are seen as smart, and they do their homework, and they can do the homework, and they are very good in the class. So we have this perception of them that they are very smart people, and the people who are in the back of the desks, who get like maybe 6 or 5 grades, then it's in European system, means that they are not so smart. You just don't have a talent for it. You're not good at math. You're not good at languages. Like you mentioned, maybe you're not good at reading. So it's like putting a label. And to some degree, the teachers and the parents did that in a way. Not necessarily did that, but it's like you are labeling yourself because you see other people being labeled as smart, and you have bad grades, so you label yourself as stupid. So I always thought I will be bad at math. I will always be bad at some certain things that I was not good at the time. And I think the first realization, what turned that, when changed that, was when I finished my high school, and I was in university. And I was very passionate about, like, I was very curious about how rockets work. Like, I was seeing the SpaceX, Elon Musk sending rockets to the orbit and landing them back. And that was like, for me, very, I was very curious. How does he manage to land those rockets? There should be, because at the time I was interested in coding. So I was very curious, how does it work? And I was always bad at physics too. Physics, biology, chemistry, maths, the lowest grades in the class. But that curiosity like started something. Like I was so curious, so I was like, how can I build like a rocket that lands itself, like launches itself, goes to a certain, altitude, and then lands itself automatically, and like how the code works. So I was looking into all the physics, and there's a lot of Reddit posts how like what's the physics behind calculating the mass of the rocket, knowing when to turn the engines. So by the time you get to the zero velocity, you are at the at the altitude of the ground. So it was very interesting for me. But there are so many numbers and things that I didn't understand what are they and how is the gravity related to our things. So I spent, I think, like overall I spent a year, but I didn't like spend every day of that year. But I was like coming back and forth to that algorithm that I was trying to build for that rocket. And there are so many things I learned. I learned like how the orbits, like orbital mechanics, the rocket engineering, how it works, and so many things. And yeah, after 1 year when I was in college, I finally managed to finish that algorithm, and I put it in a game that's like has a simulator of a rocket, and it launched the rocket 500 meters, I think, or 1 kilometer, and then it landed automatically, and and it worked, and it was all based on like calculations based on like how much fuel does it has in the rocket, what is the center of the gravity of that rocket, so it like knows how to turn and stuff. Anyway, there's like so many things, but after I managed to do that, I had a deep realization that's like, wait, I was very bad at math. I was very bad at physics. So how come I managed to turn this thing into like how did I manage to finish it, And then I realized it's not always about like you have a talent for math. Because there is a lot of people who are very smart in school, but they choose a different career path that doesn't match their degrees at all. So they're not so successful as maybe other people that had lower grades. And I don't think it's related to how smart you are or how good grades you have. It's about that curiosity. If you have a curiosity for things you're doing, and it can be applied in anything, as a startup founder too. If maybe you're not so good at entrepreneurship, maybe you're not good at building apps and other things, but if you have that curiosity about like how does this thing works, how can I build this website, oh, I'm interested how the SEO works, like if you are curious about those things, you'll figure out. And the curiosity, I think, is way more important than being like smart or like just having a little bit a better IQ than other people. It will be harder for you to achieve the same thing as someone with higher IQ or like who is very smart in school and stuff and good at math. For sure, for them it will be easier. But I think that's also part of what's fun about it, because like, can you do what they can do it? Yeah, if it even takes it longer to achieve what they other people can achieve, but can you do it too? And if you manage to do it, that's something very amazing. And it's not to prove to other people, but you prove to yourself that you can achieve something if you're just curious about it and you have fun. And it's a very, very important, I think, to have fun along the way. If you have fun learning about it, doesn't matter like how long it took you, as long as you had fun and you enjoyed the process, right? That's what matters. So yeah, and I use that learning through everything I do now. Like everything that because we have a stigma around that's the older you get, the less things you can try new. So like if you want to get maybe into hiking or like, I don't know, maybe painting or like other hobbies, it's too late. You should have started like when you're earlier. And I think that's very wrong. It's because when you're kids, you're like trying all these different things, like you're drawing and you don't care about your drawing. Like, is it nice? Is the shading nice? Is the proportion? You just draw because it's fun. And you see that in the kids, they just do things because they enjoy the process of doing. You don't ask them, like the kid will not ask you, will I manage to do the best drawing in the world or stuff, because they just focus on the present moment of the process of drawing. But when we, as adults, we lose that. We lose a lot of it, and we start to overthink like what people will think about my work, what people will think about my end result, what will I think about my end result, is it nice, is it not, how is it compared to other people. So I think there's like so many things we can learn when we're kids, like not caring about that, and you can apply that in everything at any age, I think, in your life. As you can be very old or in your 40s, 50s, 30s, 20s, and you can start all over again, whatever hobby or whatever passion you have. Can be entrepreneurship, startup, founder, anything.
Absolutely. Like curiosity is the key. to everything. You don't need to know everything. If you like, and that's too. It's like where you say, like, you have that goal, you have that idea, you have all these things you need to learn to do that. So like developing that gift of curiosity. And one thing I kind of do to, like, in moments where even that small task is hard, or I want to get on to the next task, or the 10 steps beyond that, I don't even want to be doing this right now, I tell myself to just focus on this. Like, focus on this and do this very well. Like, this one task, just do this well. Be in this moment right now, focus on this thing right now, and do this well. And if you put that mindset in front of you, if you say, I'm okay, this thing right here, don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it well, it'll be something that it might be a task that like requires a lot of your brain power to do it, and that's why you don't want to do it, because it's like something that scares you or gives you anxiety and invokes some fears. But if you say, I'm going to do this well, you're committing yourself to curiosity, because you're saying, I want to do this well, I want to do this the best it can be for right now in this moment. So what do I need to do that? So I need to go on YouTube and look up, a DIY video on how to do this, or I need to like research Reddit or whatever it is. It forces you to kind of to have that curiosity. Like, I'm going to go find the best solution for this problem. I'm going to solve this problem right now. This is the only thing I'm going to focus on. I do this right now. And so it kind of forces your brain to be curious about how to solve that problem.
Yeah. And yeah, ending kind of this topic, I would like to just end it on a good note. And how can we turn the stress into something positive? How can we turn like all the anxious moments, because not every time you'll, like we said, like not every time you'll be motivated. There'll be days when you'll be feeling like you want to quit. It's not for you. There are just days when you don't feel like keeping up, So how can we turn the stress into something positive and seeing it from a different perspective?
So like, there's a couple things. I think I mentioned one earlier in this conversation, is just that stress, maybe that thing that's like making you procrastinate, whatever that is, that anxiety, that stress. It's there, one, that stress is there, one, to make you better. So realizing it's not something bad. Two is realizing it's because you care, because you want to do a good job, because you want to get this thing done for your partners, or you want to get this thing out into the world and helping people. It's because you care that you're having that stress. So again, those are all okay. Those are all good things. And then just another piece that, that's helped me in my life, not everyone has this view. Not everyone has this view of the world, view of life. It's just something that works for me. But I see that, from a spiritual level, we came to this world. We came into these bodies to simply experience this life. There's no right way to do this life. There's no wrong way to do this life. And that we put so much pressure on ourselves. We get all this, propaganda and like these things that are indoctrinated into our brains, that we got to live this certain way. We got to do this thing. We got to have the big house. We got to have the car. We have all these things that, are told to us that we have to do. And you really don't have to. Like, none of this, like, all you're here for, there's nothing that we're doing here that we're going to bring with us to the next life or to the life thereafter. We don't get to carry any of this stuff. There's nothing we have to do here. In that way, life, one person could see it in a pessimistic sense and say, well, life is meaningless. Or someone could look at the other side and say, life is meaningless, but compoundingly meaningful, because we have the choice. We have the choice to apply whatever meaning to it we want. Now, for me, for you, we said, like, okay, we want to start a business and stuff like that. That's the experience we want to give ourselves. These goals that we have in our future and how we envision our future life, that's the experience we want to give ourselves. So it's not something you have to do. You don't have to do it anyway. You can sit on your couch and smoke pot all day if you want to. It doesn't matter. Or you can spend your day going after a big goal, to be curious, to see if that's possible. And so just realizing, like, you can take a lot of pressure off yourself. You can take a lot of pressure off yourself of just realizing that There is no right way to do this life. Whatever you're doing right now is completely fine. That's perfect. Perfect for you. If you choose to go this path, it's because you want to have that experience, because that's meaningful to you. That gives your life meaning. And that's a great thing. But also put so much pressure on yourself that it has to happen right now, or that it has to happen at all. You can walk away from anything at any point. I choose not to. Because my curiosity overpowers my fears every single time. But again, you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself that you like have to do all these things, and you have these people looking at you, and are they going to judge you, and are they, your family going to say stuff about you, or your friends are going to say something about you, people aren't going to talk to you anymore. Who cares? Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, all that matters is how you think about you. All that matters is how you feel about yourself. And if you're happy doing what you do, like you're going after this dream, if that makes you happy, keep doing that and focus on that. Focus on that journey, each step. Be happy with each step. Don't be so focused on this end goal at, what your life's going to be like after you do all this stuff, because you're going to miss all the great stuff that happens in between.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, as you said, at first it can seem like depressing a little bit, thinking that there's nothing you need to do, because you have like this expectation of yourself, like especially if you're very caught up in your career, it can be almost like you lose your identity, because your identity was so attached to this career, being an entrepreneur, being a founder, being a developer. So you attach yourself so much to this identity of yourself that when you hear that, can seem like, so what do I have to do now? Like, so where do I go? But I think this is a important advice. An important step is to realize you don't have to do any of that. And even if it's uncomfortable at first, you'll feel like this feeling of like not knowing what to do. You're lost. But after a certain time, it will give you also this peace of mind that you can take all the stress and all the expectation of other people you put on you and you put on yourself, and you can decide what to do next. You are the one who's going to choose that path. And a good analogy I use sometimes is, where are you running when no one is chasing you? So, if no one is coming after you, no one has the expectation, like what is your way? What is your path? And I think we lose that a lot of times. We lose it a lot because we use social media, we're exposed to other successful people, and we're like, oh, I need to do that. So you're like a rabbit chasing after a carrot, like, I need to do that. Oh, that looks nice. This looks nice. Maybe I should do this. So you lose that focus a lot of times. But if you remember that there's no one chasing you, there's no one around you, what would you do? What would you choose? And practicing that a few times, maybe a week or months, a year, every quarter, can give you that focus back. And I think that's super important to remember.
Yeah, I would just say that that's the base of it, is just, that's what I think makes this life, again, like, there's nothing we have to do here, but how awesome is that? How amazing is that this life, you have a choice. You can choose. And so whatever you choose, like, make it something that like makes you happy, like, whether if really like laying on your couch all day and watching TV makes you happy every single day and you're not depressed, keep doing it. If you can make that happen for your whole life, do it. And that makes me happy. I don't think it will. I mean, I don't think it will. At least it wouldn't work for me. But for me, it's just like, I have a choice. I'm only here for, and maybe I'm here for, 70 years, 80 years, 100 years. If I'm lucky, I'm here for this long, this experience, to experience this life. Why not go for the big dream? Like, why not go through that and be curious, like, see if that's possible for me? What are all the things that I have to learn? What are the skills that I have to acquire to make that happen? That's fun for me. That it's like curiosity that's in me, that like, that's a fun life journey, that I don't have to do. I don't have to do the pressure off, but boy, would that be fun,
Yeah, and I also heard this from a writer, because a lot of writers like struggle with the writer block, I think it's called, when you cannot think of anything to write and stuff like that. So a nice advice he gave, and I think you can use that in your work and your field of work and any career you are having. The way he said, like, so he would go to his gazebo and lock himself with just like with his laptop, but then he's not allowed to go on any social media or any like websites, anything. So he's allowed to do nothing. He's allowed to like just stare at the whole, the scenery, whatever, just stare wherever and be present in the setting he is in, but he's not allowed to do anything like write any journals or like do anything outside of that. But he has this choice where he has his laptop and the writing. I mean, it can be laptop, can be notebook, whatever you choose to write in. But he has this choice to write the book or the newsletter, the blog, whatever it is, and he stays a few minutes not doing anything because he doesn't want to do that, doesn't want to write. But after a few minutes, it starts to become boring, and he's like, eh. So it's like, it'll be nicer to write than not doing anything. So then he chooses that instead. And I think it's such a great advice because you can apply it to anything. Because when you have so many distractions, social media, Instagram, Facebook, that's where you go, like you distract yourself. But if you just have like two options and one is more boring than the other, like it's that's how you lead yourself into doing what's not. And then again, action creates momentum, creates motivation, and that's how you get into that loop.
So yeah, that's like one thing I've noticed. Like my best ideas will come in the car. My best ideas will come when I'm sitting on a plane for several hours, right? I'm restricted and there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can distract myself. Those are when my best ideas come forward. And so like a lot of times, like I'll force myself into that just by like, put away my phone or just like go into a room and just sit, and I just like make myself be bored. And that's honestly like kind of fun too sometimes, like to force yourself to be bored, like, and being okay with that. It's a practice within itself. But what I haven't tried and what you gave me the idea for is like, during moments of anxiety, can I just like force myself to just like sit still, not even meditate, like not even do that, just like sit still, don't reach for your phone, don't do this, and also don't let yourself like overthink, just ruminate on stuff like that. Like, could I just sit there and be bored in that moment? Even though I'm like anxious and I feel I got to do all this stuff, can I just be bored in that moment? Like, say, like, as an example, like say like, it's a presentation I have to get prepared for, or code that I have to evaluate, like, and I don't want to do that because I'm procrastinating. Why not just like sit there, let yourself be bored for a while and see what happens? And I bet you that fear goes away.
Yeah. It's just it's mindfulness. You're practicing mindfulness in that moment by not forcing yourself to practice mindfulness. Like you're not forcing yourself to meditate. You're not forcing you to do anything. But that's in itself is practicing mindfulness because you're not doing anything. You're just being present. And when you're doing that, there is an option to code or to continue whatever you're doing. And that gives you a moment of you to relax, first of all, because you're not having all this chatter in your mind, like thoughts and overthinking about presentation, whatever it is. So you're, for a few seconds or for a few minutes, you're like getting rid of that to some degree. And that gives you room to kind of get back to your natural state, catch your breathing, and you have an opportunity to continue what you're doing. And if you need more time, you can take more time. But I think it's natural for you later. You'll just come back to it. It's just like taking breaks through the day. That's the same thing. Taking breaks, but the breaks, you shouldn't go on your phone during those breaks. It's naturally just staying still and relaxing. Because if you're going on your phone, you're engaging in some other activity. And it's not necessarily, even if it feels relaxing, doesn't mean it's necessarily relaxing for your mind, because it's still engaged in, processing stuff. So you just need to get rid of anything and just staying with being in the present moment, and that will give you the required relaxation to start again, continue your work, doing what you were doing before.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also like by forcing yourself to be bored, not letting yourself get distracted with your phone, not letting yourself get start ruminating and overthinking all these thoughts. By forcing yourself in that moment, you're also kind of proving to your brain and your body that, hey, it's okay. Like this stuff is not that important. It's not that big of a deal. Like I can just be right now, you know, forcing yourself. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty sums up like our conversation. Is there anything else, Brock, that you'd like to add? Maybe some, advices for startup founders that are dealing with stress currently, or anyone in that entrepreneurship on their entrepreneurship journey.
Just stop being stressed. It's not a big deal. Stop stressing out.
But it's
just relax.
Yeah. I think jokes can take you very far, though. It's if you're taking it with a positive note, and if you're just like more taking it in a less serious manner, giving it less pressure and less attention, I think it will help a lot. So yeah, just be less stressed. Don't be so stressed.
I definitely with my anxiety stuff like that, there's moments where you have to like laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
You get so stressed out about something. Sometimes I'll get so stressed out about something, and then I just like take a step back and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, why was I even stressed about that? It wasn't even a big deal. And I'll make a joke about it. So like, yeah, humor is another tool to use, and just again, like keeping yourself light, and just realizing like none of this matters in the end. You know, it only matters as far as I care about it. It's only matters as far as I want to bring it meaning, and that caring is a good thing, you know?
Yeah. Cool. Then I really enjoyed talking with you, Brock, and thank you for showing up to this episode.
I really enjoy our talks. I wish we could do this more, because it's a lot of fun every time. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. Okay. See you next time.
Bye.
This has been another episode of the Anxious Developer Podcast with me, Andrei Skrvach. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. You can find me at Andrei_Skrvach, as well as on Instagram at Andrei.Skrvach. I would love to connect with you. If you like this episode, make sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's the best way for you to let me know what I can improve. Thanks everyone for listening. Have an amazing week.